The Aries moon signature has to do with a pattern of quick, spontaneous, or impulsive emotional reactions. The person tends to process situations fast, causing a reaction very quickly. The Aries moon person is generally not prone to brooding. They generally don't have an emotional need to process or reflect for long periods of time. These quick reactions can also produce a person who's very honest and genuine, which can make them be regarded as trustworthy. However, they might also be seen as somewhat emotionally naive, due to their distaste for stirring in emotional waters for very long and therefore coming up with conclusions very quickly and sometimes prematurely. Aries moon people are generally brave, not afraid to tell it as they see it. In some cases this can also cause conflict because they are against any form of sugarcoating. More sensitive people might take some of what they say as an offense and would prefer a more gentle approach. Neither view is necessarily right or wrong, it is just a difference in styles. An Aries moon person who happens to be self-reflecting and wants to work on themselves would be called to try to understand what their part is in the conflicts they find themselves in with other people. Sometimes the Aries moon person feels that they have it right, and others are somehow misinformed or too sensitive, but in one-to-one conflicts there are two sides. Two people's energies are interacting. The Aries moon person would benefit from reflecting on how their energy might come across, and also opening themselves up to other people's perspectives, which are just as real to the other person as the Aries moon person's perspectives are to them. Astrological positions can show up in a variety of ways. I have an Aries moon friend who does not necessarily display the aforementioned qualities particularly strongly, however he is very emotionally independent, and that is one of the main ways his moon sign shows up in him. He told me himself that he has developed an emotional independence. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it tends to stand on its own or apart somehow, wanting to be first, wanting to be independent. With moon in Aries, the person has an emotional signature that does not like to rely on other people very much. Interestingly, my friend is quite self-reflective, and this may be due to other factors in his chart. It could also have to do with self-awareness. Aries is the sign of the self, quite literally. An ability to strongly understand one's own emotional position might not be the typical signature of Aries moon we might think of, but it is an interesting and valid one. Despite generally not being terribly reflective, moon in Aries can indicate an interest in the self on the emotional level. Asking yourself questions such as, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? How can I get through this emotional rut independently, without relying on others? As a result of this emotional independence, the Aries moon person is also not afraid to be themselves, and show who they are or how they feel. It's an expression of inner strength to not be too affected by others' comments or opinions about how you are or how you do things. Some Aries moon people would do well to understand their own more gentle nature, especially if there are other factors in the chart that signify a gentleness. They might be called to learn how to ask for help, and also to help others. Aries is a very friendly, fiery and passionate sign, and they might be called to cultivate these qualities in a way that allows them to get closer to people. They might need to work on cultivating their softer side. Some Aries moon people have an issue with anger. Because this position tends to react very quickly and strongly, this can sometimes show up in a way where the person lashes out or expresses anger in some other way, although they are usually not angry for very long. It is a sudden, strong moment that passes quickly. Anger has a lot to do with feeling like things are not the way you want, and Aries tends to want things to be how they want. This is another thing for the Aries moon person to potentially work on. Aries moon people may not realize this, but they may also have an emotional need for competition and winning. They may on some level stir up situations in their relationships as a way of trying to win or get people to bend to their will. On a more positive level, the Aries moon person's enthusiasm can genuinely win people over, and they can come up with some very bright ideas due to their fiery intuition and ability to resonate with things in a unique and independent way.